Okay, so my next question.
Okay.
Why are you so fired up about this and taking 45 minutes to answer every question? This is not in the notes.
Okay. So when
what are we at? We're at 57 minutes. So I
can't keep this up.
You've got 10 minutes to answer this question.
Okay.
Because holy crap. This is my truth over here right now.
Okay. So
I'm going to have no editing to do. So good for me.
Yeah.
But oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
in 10 minutes, what's wrong with you?
We're going to need a lot more than 10 minutes to discuss what's wrong with me. All right. But specifically in regards to progressive Christianity.
Okay.
All right. I actually think that two things. Progressive Christianity to me is becoming more and more common in the broader church.
Okay.
With not just within the churches that identify as progressive Christian churches, but in conservative churches that are beginning to take on progressive values and ideas. So I see it spread, and so one, that's bothersome for me. Two, it has caused and led to we did a whole episode, a podcast on deconstruction. Okay?
Right.
I think we did a whole episode on deconstruction.
There was like 3 of those.
Yeah, maybe. And the whole progressive Christianity exists because evangelicals have deconstructed their faith.
Okay.
And so, in other words, those that are deconstructing, they will either leave the faith completely or take on or move into progressive Christianity.
Okay.
And so, for me, that is why I guess I want people to understand not only the differences between conservative Christianity and progressive Christianity, but to see that people get there, and it's happening more and more, that people get there because they deconstruct their faith because they've been hurt by evangelicalism in particular. So when we talk about conservative churches, there's those within the Catholic, within the Orthodox, but if we narrow it down to the evangelical church.
Catholics are conservative?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But if we narrow it down to evangelical churches, that is where...
Right, because Catholics hate everyone and can point to 500 scholars.
No, they don't.
And say, this is why I hate you.
No, they don't hate everybody. Come on, man. You're throwing every one of us under the bus. But
it's because you took 45 minutes to answer the question.
My bad. Quit interrupting me, and I'll finish this one in time.
All right, fine.
And so for me,
hurry up.
Okay. And so for me, those that are deconstructing their faith often are doing so because they've experienced church hurt or because they have questions. They don't feel like they can ask those questions anywhere. And I guess I'm wanting to say that there is a pull to progressive Christianity, especially among young people who feel like they've experienced church hurt or those kind of things, and have not been able to ask questions or express doubts, or they just have doubts, have questions, they just leave without ever discussing it, or again, they're shut down when they try to. And I guess I want evangelical churches to look themselves in the mirror and say, we're part of the problem. We're part of we're feeding progressive Christianity by the way that we as evangelical churches have shut down these questions, have not allowed for doubts, have not allowed a space for conversations like you and I have every week.
So we're the anti-progressive Christianity podcast.
Yeah.
Should we put that in the title?
I don't know.
In the log line, no.
We're not anti-progressive though. Well, I mean, we are against progressive Christianity, but we're actually doing something that progressive Christians would want us to do.
Okay.
And that's give space for questions.
Okay.
Okay. But then there's the other side of that too, where
but your answers are so hateful.
No, they're not. No, they're not. And so the other side of that, though, is that, okay, so you've been hurt. You've not feel like you had a place to ask questions. You've had doubts. Okay. Instead of tearing the whole thing down, which is what deconstruction tells you to do, it tells you to take the essential core beliefs of the faith, tear it all down, and then rebuild it. Okay? Instead of doing that, because we don't have to go to that point, instead of doing that, what we do need to, though, is to look at, all right, what is truth? All right? So who is Jesus?
So you just, evangelicals just need to answer questions or let people ask questions.
We need to let people ask questions, and then those who are asking need to, and those who've been hurt, I guess I would say this. This is the whole feeling over fact thing, right? That we don't, that's within progressive Christianity. I would hope that none of us are basing all that we're believing on just experience or our feelings, because those are going to shift and move, right? What we need to know is, what is the truth that is unchanging?
Okay.
Because those things can actually become the rock in which we stand. You know, for example, Jesus asked Peter just the basic question of, Peter, who do you say that I am? Okay. Or he asked his disciples this, and then Peter answers, well, I tell you, you're the Christ, Son of the living God. All right. And then Peter says, or then Jesus says, Simon, that's truth. And, he says, but I know that flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father in heaven. And upon this revelation, the revelation of who Jesus is as the Christ, the Son of the living God, upon that revelation, the church will be built and hell cannot prevail against it. Okay?
Okay.
And so it really does go down to the fundamental question of who is Jesus.
Okay.
And I think for those that are wanting to deconstruct their faith, they're wanting to that do have questions and doubts, that are wrestling with passages of Scripture. I wrestle with passages of Scripture. I look at things and go, I don't get all that. I don't know all that. But if Jesus is
like half of the verses that we read during the women episodes.
Yeah. But if I can look at Jesus and I have to hear him ask the question, who do you say that I am? That's the most fundamental question we can ask. Let's start there. Who's Jesus? If he's Messiah, if he's Lord, if he is who he says he is, then that's the rock I'm standing on.
Okay.
I can have questions about all these other things. What's interesting is that Jesus actually affirms the Old Testament. Okay? So I might have questions about the Old Testament, but I can be assured that Jesus is affirming it. So I might not understand it all, but I can ask questions in the midst of it, but not feel shaken by it. Like, I don't have to go running because I don't understand why there's apparent genocide or why there's apparent, ceremonial rules and laws that seem to be so, quote unquote, oppressive toward women. Okay. And so I can wrestle with all that. But if the fundamental thing is that Jesus is Christ, the Son of the living God, then I think I can feel confident in that truth, stay within a conservative church because that truth is real, and then ask the questions around the secondary issues.
Right.
And I guess I feel like what's happened is we've allowed the secondary issues to become so high that we tear the whole thing down, including the most core doctrines.
And then rebuilt it into progressive
Christianity, because we want to rebuild it in the way we want to rebuild it.
My feeling.
To look the way I want it to look.
Okay.
And I think that's just really dangerous because at some point our feelings are going to get shaken again.
So you don't like all that. That's why you're taking 45 minutes?
Yeah, that's what I like all it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think it's an issue within the evangelical church. I think people are within progressive churches that don't realize they're there because okay, they may realize they're there because of the hurt.
Because evangelicals
they may not
suck.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, like, if there was a critique, right? Like, someone looked at the evangelical church, like Brandon Robertson, and says, you're arrogant and you're kind of like fear mongers, like you're pushing the idea of fear.
He's right.
I wouldn't disagree.
Okay.
Like, I think in general, I would hope that in general that's not the case, but like, I understand where he's coming from in that. And because, like Brendan Robertson, who's like, kind of seen as the most way out there progressive Christian at this point, or not like that he's the single most, but like as far as like a recognizable figure on social media. Okay. He's seen as like, kind of leading the charge of progressive Christians on kind of the far progressive side. Well, he grew up in a Baptist church. Mm-hmm. He went to a Baptist, he went to Moody Seminary. So like he was embedded in that culture, and that was his experience.
Right.
And so
his truth.
It drove him away.
Okay.
And I think we have been driving people away for too long, so we need to look in the mirror. But then also the people that are just choosing to leave, I think they need to also look in the mirror and ask, but why am I really leaving? Okay. Not leaving a church, but why am I leaving Jesus?
Okay.
Because I think at the end of the day, that's the question.
So you don't like that people are leaving Jesus?
No. Well, and I hate that people are leaving Jesus or leaving
because Christians suck.
Because they've had a bad experience, or because of secondary issues have been allowed to rise above those most basic, core, essential doctrines that we have held in the church for 2,000 years.